Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Omar, and today we're going to be talking about Brightin Star's first autofocus lens, the 50mm F1.4, and it's going to be for the Fujifilm X mount system. Let's get into it. That's it. That's the intro. Brightin Star is one of the many new lens companies that have popped up over the past couple of years. I recently reviewed their 35mm f/0.95 lens for the Fujifilm X mount system, which I'll link in a card above if you want to see what a cheap, ultra-fast prime lens can do. But for today, we're going to be looking at their first autofocus lens, a 50mm f1.4 prime that's currently priced just under $240 in the US without any Orange Man tariffs applied as of this filming right now. Don't know if that's going to change in the future, just heads up there. And guys, I don't have any expectations for budget lenses, but this one might arguably be better than Fujifilm's own 50mm primes, at least for most people. As a matter of fact, the only thing I don't like about this lens is that it's not weather sealed, which honestly you can't really expect from anything at this price point. Some people will for sure wish it had an aperture ring, but it's got like kind of this weird fake one here, which I guess is an interesting design choice, but that's not something I'm gonna ding it for, especially since using the command dials on the X-T5 and the X-H2S, which is what I shot the majority of the samples on, is pretty intuitive and second nature. It's really comfortable on these lenses. We just like the retro styling and the aperture ring, right? It's always nice to have. Also, just a quick note, all the samples you're gonna see were done on the X-H2S. I just wanted to mount it onto the X-T5 to show you what it looked like on a smaller body, and I think it complements it very, very well. But we'll get into the build and ergonomics of the lens in a bit. For now, let's go take a look at these photo samples. I took the lens out to Great Falls and Paterson, New Jersey to scout some locations for future photo shoots when the world isn't frozen over. Everything you see shot with this is unedited. Photos and videos are both shot in the beautiful, my all-time new favorite, beautiful Real Ace film simulation with no modifications, so you can see what the base image quality looks like before adding your own special touch or editing or film recipes or whatever the case is. I took a few shots while I was here wide open and stopped up to f8 or f10, and the images turned out exactly as I expected them to. So wide open in real world use, the sharpness is more than adequate across the entire image with good color rendition, both of which only get better when you stop the lens down, in addition to getting just a little more contrast into the image. Now that being said, the lens is definitely not tack sharp when the lens is wide open, so if you're a pixel peeper, you might have a problem with that. For everyone else, I think you're going to be more than happy with it. The thing is, we're always trying to soften our portraits in post-processing or through the use of mist filters. You'll see a few photos of people in a minute. As a chronic editor, I actually really like how the JPEGs turned out. I know Fujifilm has the straight out of camera thing going on. I never cared for it, but I really liked how these images turned out without me even touching them and without planning any of this. Now, this lens was mounted onto Rigzilla for the case of this video, but right now I'm testing Brightin Star's other lens that hasn't been released just yet. Stay tuned for that. But its size and weight make it pretty comfortable to pair with the Fujifilm X-T5 and really small cameras like the XM5, which I still haven't been able to get my hands on, so if someone's got a connect in North Jersey, let me know. Let me put Rigzilla back, and also let me know if you ever want to see a video on Rigzilla. Construction-wise, it's really solid, and it feels like a lens 3 times its price. The autofocus is on par with Fuji's best lenses, though I think we can credit their engineers for finally getting the autofocus algorithm right in the firmware updates, at least on their latest generation of cameras, and even the autofocus ring feels great if you're shooting manually with it. Like, it's got good resistance here, and that's probably even more important for video shooters than it would be for photo shooters, especially because the full frame equivalent of 75mm paired with an f1.4 aperture, you get some really nice shallow depth of field in both photo and video, and really precise control with this too. I for sure thought I'd be finding fringing all over the place, especially on a day like this where everything was kind of overcast and there were a lot of highlights, but I couldn't see any even after I imported them to my laptop and pixel peeped myself. Real quick, if you're enjoying this video, go ahead, like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below whether or not you personally enjoy shooting at this particular focal length, a 50mm crop. Even if it's not for portraits, let me know in the comments below, because I'm gonna be reviewing a lot of 50mm. Back to the video. I made my way over to the other side of the waterfall and found a family there dressed up and with musical instruments in tow. It turns out that a mother wanted to make a music video for her son's birthday, which goes pretty hard if you ask me. I asked if I could take a couple of photos, and they were more than happy to let me do it, so long as I sent these over, which they already got. Clearly, they understand the content game. Love people like that. Now again, with the crop factor applied, this is a 75mm full frame equivalent lens, which is perfect for portraits. My all-time favorite portrait lens, which I've done way too many videos on, is the Fuji 50mm F1, and I'll link a couple of them in the cards above. But the size and superior autofocus performance of the Brightin Star 50mm might make me reach for this when I want to pack light or keep a low profile when I'm out and about. And of course, worth mentioning, not heading into inclement weather. I was really happy with the photo test on site and figured that I'd run a video test as well while there wasn't too much foot traffic in the area, which isn't very common in the nicer weather. So let's take a look at that. Right now, we're gonna try the autofocus performance on this thing. I should be past the minimum focus, yeah. And I feel like, so this is an STM motor. STM motor is not as new as the linear motors that everyone has on their lenses nowadays, on their premium lenses, but they're still used nowadays. Canon just released one on their 28 to 70 2.8 lens. It's like an $1,100-$1,200 lens, and they've been using STM motors on all of their old EF glass for years and years and years, and as you can see, it's pretty good. It's definitely also a step faster than the DC motor in the 50mm F1, the Fujifilm 50mm F1. And I'd say it's pretty comparable to the 50 F2, but you have the shallower depth of field and no weather sealing, unfortunately. But overall, I think it's pretty good. Now, my settings for autofocus are AF +2, tracking +3. I don't really move a whole lot when I'm doing this kind of thing, and I don't really think this is a sports lens at f1.4 and 50mm and all that, 75 full frame equivalent, whatever you want to call it. But overall, if you wanted to do like a fancier talking head video, I think it would be fine. Also, sorry about yelling. I'm like by the waterfall and I'm not sure what it's like. Let me try to tilt this down a little bit. 1 second. Okay, yeah, let's see if we can get some more background in this, and let me flip that screen so it stops throwing me off. There we go. So here we go with the 50 F1.4. I've got a 5-stop ND, VND set to 5 on it right now. And the autofocus tracking looks pretty good from what I can see from here. The autofocus performance on this lens in particular is pretty good, and at the price point of around $300 and change before any Orange Man tariffs, it's probably going to be one of the best performing lenses in this category, especially if you're trying to take portraits or do like some fancier talking head video like this. Now, this is Brightin Star's first autofocus lens, which is pretty significant not only for photography's sake, but also for videography. Last month I reviewed one of their other lenses, the 35mm f0.95, and I'm gonna link that video in a card above. You can check that out, see how you like it. I'm a pretty big fan of that lens, and I have another lens I'm actually gonna be shooting the review for right after this, and that one is the 50mm f0.95. I'll have a link for you to buy it directly in the description below. You're gonna save a couple of bucks over buying it from Amazon, but I'll also have the Amazon link as well if you are just, let's face it, lazy and are game to pay $30 more. Don't do it, just buy direct. Everyone should start buying direct from now on. Right now I'm shooting in the Reala Ace film simulation, and I feel like the color rendition is great. The sharpness is really good. I have no issues with sharpness, no issues with contrast. I'm sure like there's probably fringing somewhere. I haven't noticed them in any of the photos while reviewing them here. I'll flag it when I'm reviewing the photos at home later if I see anything worth mentioning, but at this price point, you're gonna have a hard time finding a better lens. And I'd actually recommend this over Fuji's own 56mm 1.2, unless you manage to get the weather sealed one, the Mark II, if you're gonna be in the elements. In case you get caught in the rain, there is no sealing between the lens and the body. There's no sealing internally on the lens, so this is not like a rainy day lens. Can it handle a little drizzle and mist like by the waterfalls here? Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't have brought the lens. Okay, so I'm gonna do some more video tests on the side there because people are doing much cooler things than I am. So let's go ahead and turn it around and see how the AF performance is right there. So overall, the value proposition for this lens is incredible, and it really goes to show you just how good these new lens manufacturers in the market have gotten in just a few short years. Other than the weather sealing, there really isn't anything I can say that I'd like to be made better with this lens. The autofocus is better than the majority of Fuji's lenses, not the linear motor lenses, but pretty much everything else. And it's still almost completely on par with the linear motor lenses. There's no heinous flaring or fringing to speak of, no weird quirks, and it even has a built-in USB-C port for firmware updates, just in case there's ever a reason for them to require an update to make it compatible with a newer camera or something. And because that USB-C port's built in, that means you don't need a dock station. I think Brightin Star really knocked it out of the park with this release. I mean, for their first autofocus lens, this is really, really impressive. And with that being said, like this video, subscribe to my channel, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on this lens and if you think you're going to pick one up. And as always, I'll catch you at the next one. See ya.